Hello and welcome everyone. This is going to be an amazing show. Before we get into our planned feature event here, I would like to share some things with you. First of all, I'm sure you know who I am if you're here. If you don't, I'm Robbie Stahl. I own The Fitness Doctor, and we're a team of orthopedic specialists. We help individuals optimize their fitness, their physiology. In the most simple terms, we help stop the degeneration, or at least drastically decrease the degeneration which happens just because of aging, just because of sleeping disease states. We all have sleeping disease states in our body, which when we're not fit enough, those get sensitized to become awakened. And also based on lifestyle and based on things that are really important, like fats, right? And the things that you eat, we're going to be talking about fats today. Other things that create degeneration in the body is actually your body mechanics. Your musculoskeletal health actually degenerates as you get older. So even if you're exercising and you think you're doing the right stuff, then what ends up happening is your mechanics can break down, and that can cause degeneration too, right? So all of those things, plus your lifestyle, would basically help individuals do all those things. But one of the things that gets most complex with fitness beyond the age of 50 is your body mechanics, because every body area and every joint has different needs. So what we do is we train individuals to optimize their body mechanics from an orthopedic, therapeutic, anti-aging standpoint. And where you can start to learn about those things is at an event that we call the Full Body Fix, not to be confused with today's show, the Full Body Fix coaching show. In 2 weeks, we start what's called the Full Body Fix event. That's July 22nd. Patricia will drop the link in the chat. So for our VIPs in attendance, those are our very special clients. We don't call our clients clients, we call them very important people, and they get treated like very important people. For my VIPs, if you want the link to send to your friends and family and that type of thing to attend the Full Body Fix, it's in the chat. And if you're not yet a VIP, or you don't never been to the Full Body Fix, or you want to go again, the link's in the chat for you as well. So what we do at the Full Body Fix is I go basically from toe to head, the way your body mechanics work. We look at the foot, the ankle, the knee, the hip, pelvis, low back, upper back, shoulders, neck. I help you self-analyze your body mechanics down to specific alignment and degrees of motion and all those things. And then I give you exercises to specifically target your body's deficiencies so you can optimize your mechanics. After the event, every movement that you do thereafter, your awareness of it will be improved. And now all the physical activity you do will be improved because of what you learn at the event. So the link is in the chat. Now, for what we all joined together here today, I have a very special guest. First, I'm going to give you my personal words about this gentleman, Udo Erasmus, and then I'm going to give you his formal introduction. So first of all, in my own words, I grew up with a huge passion for fitness at a very young age. I was a very unique child. Like, I wasn't a good student, but I got straight A's in health and biology, and anything that had anything to do with the human body, I aced it. And everything else was like a huge struggle. So I'm like all in on one area kind of guy. And by age of 12, I read my first university level exercise physiology textbook. And I studied a lot of nutrition. And one of the things I was very aware of growing up is Udo's Choice Oils. And I knew that Udo's Choice Oils was like one of the very best oil fat products on the market, and that it was amazing for your health. So for me, at this point in my career, it's a huge honor to have Udo Erasmus here with us in show to get to share his message with you. He's a brilliant man. He's a wonderful man, as you're going to see here in a moment. His health advice works because even though he's 81, he looks much younger. His skin is super healthy, and you can tell that this guy takes care of himself and that what he's going to share with you works. Here's his formal introduction, and then we'll get into action here. So the legendary Udo Erasmus is the co-founder of Udo's Choice line, which can be found in Whole Foods and other health food stores worldwide. Udo designed the machinery for making oils with health in mind and pioneered flax oil, a $1 billion industry. However, Udo walked a difficult path to become the man he is today. Being a child of war, Udo's life began with intense struggle. And we're going to talk about that today. He has some interesting early life story, and I want him to share that with you. As an adult, he got pesticide poisoning in 1980, leaving doctors at a loss regarding treatment. Deciding to take his health into his own hands, Udo began researching, and his discoveries led him to a passion for finding the answer to life's big questions, which would hopefully one day bring him and the world peace. Today, Udo is an acclaimed speaker and author of many books, including the best-selling Fats That Heal, Fats That Kill, which has sold over 250,000 copies. He teaches at events hosted by Tony Robbins and Deepak Chopra, has keynoted an international brain health conference, and has traveled to over 30 countries to conduct thousands of live presentations, media interviews, and staff trainings, impacting more than 25 million lives with his message on oils, health, peace, nature, and human nature. Udo has an extensive education in biochemistry, genetics, biology, and nutrition, including a master's degree in counseling psychology. Please help me welcome Udo to our show.
Okay. Hi, Robbie. Thank you for that introduction, especially the personal one.
So Udo, share with us about your early life. Like child of war. What does that mean? What happened?
Okay. Yeah, my parents were from Latvia and Estonia, German-Swedish background. And in 1938, Hitler and Stalin made a non-aggression pact, which said they weren't going to fight each other. But of course, they broke that pact later, but that's a whole other story. And in order to sign that, they decided that Latvia would go to the Soviet Union and a part of Poland would go to Germany. But there was nobody from Latvia or Poland at the meeting. So they just took it because they were big and they could. And so my father left Latvia because he loved the Russians. He hated communism because they took everything away from everybody and made it state-owned. Communism is not fun for people who want freedom. And so he left and got a farm in, he had a farm in Latvia. So he left the farm, that went to the Soviet Union. He was given a farm in that part of Poland, and the Polish farmer who owned the farm became his farmhand. And you can imagine that would have been a little tension there. But they said, look, this is crazy time we live in. Let's just run the farm the best way a farm needs to be run. And at the end, when all of this crazy stuff sorts out, then we'll sort it out and deal with it. So they became really good friends, and they helped us get out of Poland when eventually, and we became refugees. My father was in a prisoner of war camp by that time. My mother had 6 kids, 6 and under. She was fleeing out of Poland westward into Germany, with the communists chasing us with tanks and trucks, and there was tons of refugees. And they were mostly women with young children on horse-drawn hay wagons, because it was farm country, on roads that had no military presence. And the communists were chasing us in tanks and trucks, and the Allies, which we like to think of as the good guys, they were using us refugees as target practice, and they were shooting at us from planes. And so my mother, basically there were dead horses and dead people in the ditches, and it was really crazy. And it was winter. My mother decided it was safer to go through the fields than to be on the roads. So of the 6 kids she had with her, she took 2 to go through the fields, and she couldn't handle more than 2. And the other 4 she left with a farmer. So some of her kids got left behind. You can imagine how that must sit for a mother to have to make that decision. And then we ended up in an orphanage, and eventually her sister found out what happened, and she came and found us, and we got reunited. I just remember not feeling safe. That's the biggest feeling that came out of that for me. I never felt safe. Didn't know who or what I could depend on. And so I lived a very, very secluded childhood, in books mostly, because books are safe. You know, you can read a book about a war, but there are no bullets flying. And we were in Germany when I was 6 years old, talking, and I listened to adults argue about really trivial things. And it always bothered me because they would get so intense, and it was like, yeah, that tension always like freaked me out a little. And I heard an argument like that, 6 years old, and the thought occurred to me, man, there must be a way that people can live in harmony. And the little cocky voice that comes out from a 6-year-old who doesn't know how complicated everything is, I'm going to find out how. And that kind of was my driver. It's been my driver all my life. I went to when it came to studying, I went to university, first in science to understand how things work, because that gives you predictability. You know, when you know how something works, it becomes predictable. And that was really important for me because I didn't have security, right? And then I got into biological sciences because I wanted to know how creatures work. And then I got into psychology to understand how thinking works. Then I got into medicine because I wanted to know how health works, because it seemed to me if I knew what health was and people had departed from health, I could just turn them around in the direction of health, give them a push and watch them get better. But to do that, I would have to know what health is. And so I got into medicine. We only learned about disease. I went to the dean. I said, I came here to study health. What is health? He said, we don't know. We're working on it. And that was the most disappointing answer I've ever heard about health. And then we were also told in first year medicine that a doctor should always sound as though he knows what's going on, even when he doesn't. And that ended my medical career because we call that lying on the farm. And I then went back into biochemistry and genetics and because in biology, you actually learn more about health than you learn in medicine. They don't call it health, but you're studying normal functioning of normal creatures in normal situations and how the normal biochemistry works. And so I got into that. And then I was still looking for something that was missing, and it was really maybe a personal search. And I left university, and I ended up doing all kinds of blue collar works because I wanted to know what it felt like to be in the shoes of the people doing that kind of work. And then eventually got married, had 3 kids. My marriage broke up. I was really upset. And I took a full-time job as a pesticide sprayer. I had a license for doing it. I had gotten 99.5% on the exam. And I started spraying pesticides very carelessly because I wanted to kill something. And so after 3 years of doing it very carelessly, I got poisoned by the pesticides, went to the doctor, asked her, what do you got for pesticide poisoning? She said nothing. And the penny dropped. Oh my God, my health really is my responsibility. I kind of knew it, but it was like, yeah, but now the rubber met the road. And so then I went into the research to look at anything about health and nutrition, disease and nutrition, the essential minerals, the essential vitamins, the essential amino acids, the essential fatty acids. And I got stuck in the area of fats because it was really complicated. There was one study I read, omega-6 is an essential nutrient, which means you got to have it. You can't make it. You got to bring it in from outside. If you don't get enough long enough, you die. But if you bring it back while you're deteriorating from not getting enough, if you bring enough back before you die, then all of your problems that you got from not having enough are reversed. Because life knows how to make a body work, provided we take responsibility of making sure all of the essential building blocks, 42 essential nutrients, land in our body in adequate quantities or in optimum quantities if we want to shoot for optimum health. And so the next study, so this is omega-6 is essential and you have to have it for health. And the very next study was omega-6 gives you cancer and kills you. And I tell you, my head exploded. It was like, what the hell? How can that be? You have to have it and then it kills you. It's like, that's like, that, it's like, ah! And then it was that trying to figure out that contradiction that made me look deeper than people usually look into research and find out how oils are made. Then I found out, okay, omega-6 and omega-3 are the most essential, the most sensitive of our essential nutrients. They're damaged by light, by oxygen, by heat. They need the most care of any essential nutrient, and we give them the least care. We throw them in a frying pan and turn them into smoke. And of course, when you turn oil into smoke, you've changed the chemistry. And so I became very interested. Then I found out that I actually called the Oil Chemist Society and I asked them, why, when you know this does damage to the oil, the way you treat it to give it a long shelf life, why do you do that? And what they specifically do, they treat it with sodium hydroxide, a very corrosive base, then with phosphoric acid, a very corrosive acid. Then they bleach it with bleaching clays, which turns it rancid, and now it smells bad. And then they deodorize it, and to blow off the rancid molecules, they have to heat the oil to frying temperature. That means when you buy a colorless, odorless, tasteless oil on the supermarket in a plastic bottle, that oil has already been fried before you even bought it, before it was even put in the bottle. And so I asked him, well, why do you do that? There's about 1% damage done to the oils. So the guy said to me, the American Oil Chemist Society scientist.
Udo, can I interject in it? So yeah. This is all oils, like olive oil, every oil.
The only oil that hasn't been damaged by processing is extra virgin olive oil. You can get olive oil that's been damaged, but only extra virgin olive oil is made by a different process. Okay? So then I said to the scientist, why do you do this? He said, well, one of the reasons we do that is because we can get rid of half of the pesticides in the oil. And I've been poisoned by pesticide. My thought is, oh my God, the other half of the pesticide stays in the oil? I didn't even know there were pesticides in oils. And he said, well, why don't you start with organically grown seeds? And there was a long silence at the other end of the phone. And I waited. And when he came back, he was really angry. He says, I don't know what your problem is. The oil is 99% good. It's only 1% damaged. And if you got 99% on an exam, you'd be damn happy, wouldn't you? So now I think, well, maybe I'm overreacting. It's only 1%. So we have a saying, when in doubt, do the math. So I said, okay, if I have a tablespoon of an oil that has been 1% damaged by the processing, how many damaged molecules are we going to find in that oil? And I asked you that question, didn't I, Robbie?
Yes, sir.
What was your answer?
I knew it was a lot, but it wasn't anywhere near what it actually is.
I when I do lives, I always like to ask because people need to see how far they underestimate the damage done to oils when they're 1% damaged. So in a tablespoon, and they always
Udo,
estimate.
Let's do this. Actually, Udo, let's do this. I think it'll be really interesting. So yeah, let's have everyone put in the chat. What is your guess at how many damaged molecules are in a tablespoon?
So first of all, what you see is the numbers are all over the place because we don't actually have a clue. And that's because, of course, because you don't know how big a molecule is. So you don't know how many molecules of oil are in a tablespoon of oil, right? Why would you think about it? You just eat the stuff, right? So here's the number, billions and billions. Yeah, that's not a number. All of them. No, it's not all of them. It's only 1% damaged. Okay, so the actual number is 60 quintillion. What is 60 quintillion? It's a 6 followed by 19 zeros. The biggest number we had was 250 billion. So then 250 trillion, 250 quadrillion, 250 quintillion. That would be a million times, no, 1,000 million, a billion times too low. So it's about 250 million times too low. It's the highest estimate. And probably Laura, who gave that estimate, probably thought she was really pushing it. and it's still 250 billion times lower than the actual amount of damaged oil. And the reason I do that is because, okay, if you underestimate the damage in the oil by that much, so let's put it into another example. You're going to drive across town to go for a beer or whatever you're going to do, right? And somebody tells you, somebody who knows the future and always tells the truth, tells you that your chance of crashing and dying on your drive across town is 250 million times higher than you thought it was, would you skip the beer? Would you skip the beer and stay home? Because fundamentally what we're doing is we're doing something to ourselves every day. We take a tablespoon, 2 tablespoons, 3, 4 tablespoons, and we're underestimating the damage we're doing, that we're putting in our body, by 250 million times. Wow.
These
And
are
I
all,
learned that.
so these are all oils that you can buy at the store minus extra virgin olive oil, correct?
Yep. Or if they say on the label unrefined. But most of the oils, they're in plastic bottles. The plastic leaches into oil. That's another problem. They have pesticides in them. That's a problem. They have 60 quintillion damaged molecules in a tablespoon. That's more than 1 million damaged molecules for every one of your body's 60 trillion cells. And and then not only that, then you put them in the frying pan and fry your foods in them. So you have to multiply that number by probably another 3 to 6 times. And then you do it for 30 years. So now you got to multiply that number by another 11,000 times. That's how many days there are in 30 years. And then something eventually after 2 or 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 or 30 years goes wrong. And you say, I don't know why I got this problem. I always ate good. Because you didn't know how much damage was done to those oils, because nobody in the world that I know of except me ever talks about this, right? So when I heard that,
I think to create a parameter and perspective, would you mind share with us, like, what is a fat and why? Because really the oils is a liquid fat, right? So yeah, without going, we won't make the whole show about this, but what is a fat? Why is it important? Why is it an essential nutrient? What is it going to do with us? And what type of essential fats are there?
Okay. I was going to get to that, but I'll do it now. Okay. So the chemists, the researchers call fats and oils together lipids. Okay. And a fat, by definition, is solid at room temperature. So it has a high melting point. And an oil, by definition, is liquid at room temperature. And then you have a whole different, depending on what's in the oil, they have different melting points. So the lard will melt in the frying pan. Butter will melt in the frying pan. Tends to be solid at room temperature, although if it gets really hot, it can also do that. Olive oil is liquid at room temperature, but it goes solid, or at least gets flex when you put it in the fridge. But you take something like a soybean oil, which has more omega-3 and 6, which are the essential fatty acids in it. They stay liquid in the fridge, but you can freeze them in your freezer. So the fat and oil issue is just about melting points, but they're all made out of similar molecules. They're called triglycerides, which is a glycerol molecule that has 3 fatty acid chains hanging from it. Okay, and that's true for the hard fats. That's true for olive oil. That's true for all the other oils as well. And then I think that basically covers that part of it. And then of everything in fats, the building blocks are fatty acids. They can have their chains, carbon chains. There can be as short as 4 and as long as 28 or even 30 fatty acids. They have an acid at one end and a methyl at the other end. That gets into the chemistry. I think that's probably not where we want to spend much time. And then some of them have single bonds between all the carbon atoms. And some of them have some double bonds between some of the atoms. And that differentiates the functions of fatty acids, because they have different functions depending on how long they are and how many double bonds they contain. In all of those, there are like dozens of different fatty acids. There are only 2 that are essential by the definition I gave, but I'll tell you again. You got to have it to live and be healthy. You cannot make it in your body from anything else. You therefore have to bring it in from outside as food or as supplement. And if you don't get enough, your health goes down, you get deficiency symptoms, they get worse with time. And if you don't get enough enough, it kills you, because these are extremely important building blocks for body construction. And if you're going down because you're not getting enough, but you bring enough back before you die, that's because by definition, death is not reversible, then all of the problems become reversed, because life knows how to use them, provided you make sure you make them available to life to make your body. So that's essential. Only two are essential, omega-3 and omega-6. Omega-6 is called linoleic acid, was established as essential in 1968, although it was considered essential since 1929. And omega-3 was established as essential in 1981, which was the year after I got poisoned. So my timing was really good to get interested in essential fatty acids. So to go back to the story, when I found out all this damage done to oils, I'd been poisoned by pesticides. I had cancer to look forward to. I said, you know what? I cannot get healthy on oils like this. We should make oils with health in mind. And what does that require? Well, you have to build a very tight system in which the oil does not get affected by light or by oxygen or by high temperature. From the time it's enclosed in the seed, where it's very, very stable, they found flax seeds 5,000 years old in caves in Switzerland. And they actually brought them out, they planted them, and they grew flax plants on 5,000-year-old seeds. So nature's packaging can be quite amazing. And then you want to prevent light, oxygen, and heat from damaging you from that time through the pressing, the filtering, the settling, the filling, until it's nitrogen flushed in a glass bottle, because you don't want to use plastic for oils, and in the fridge in the factory. So we built that system. And the first oil we did was flax oil, because omega-3s had just been established as essential. Every cell needs them. 99% of the population doesn't get enough for optimum health. And my head exploded again, but this time in a good way. It was like, oh my God, if we could make oils with health in mind and we could bring the missing omega-3s back into people's diets, oh my God, we could help almost everybody. And I got so excited, I got so inspired that whole project that we did ran on that enthusiasm, because I had zero business background. And we made decisions right and left, and we set standards, because what you have to do, if something is sensitive or something is important and it's not working, then what you have to do is raise standards. Because when you raise standards for nutrient intake, if there's something wrong with your body, if you raise your standard of food intake, you will rebuild 98% of your body in 1 year to a higher standard. And that's because the body's always turning over. That's why healing is possible. The body is a major construction site. 98% of the atoms in it are removed and replaced every year. So if you don't like what's going on in your body, raise your standards. If you raise them to the highest possible standard, then in 1 year, you will have rebuilt 98% of your body to the highest possible standard. Of course, then you need to know what that is and put it all in place, right? And so we got excited. We did a tour in a van without air conditioning in 1988 in the hottest months in the US, July, August, half of June, half of September, 101 days, 85 cities, 35 states, 17,000 miles by road. And I slept on the floor in the van between the steering wheel and the back. My driver had built a bunk across the back, and we talked to everybody who we could get to. In 2 years, flax oil was the second highest selling oil in the health food industry, just because of that enthusiasm. And it was like we worked all day and drove all night, and it was like horrendous. And I don't remember ever feeling like I was working. I was so inspired to do this. There's something that feels really good in here in your chest when you do things that help people. And I was just like, oh my God, on fire. We were on fire. So, but then I became omega-6 deficient on flax oil, because flax oil has 4 times more omega-3 than omega-6. And I didn't know of a traditional diet that was higher than 2.5 times more omega-3 than omega-6. And the guys I worked with were saying, oh, flax oil is the best source of both essential fatty acids. I didn't think so, but I didn't have proof. So I did an experiment. I used flax oil as my only oil in my diet. And within 3 months, I had dry eyes, skipped heartbeats, arthritis-like pain in my finger joints, and thin, papery skin. Those are classic omega-6 deficiency symptoms. And I fixed them by eating sunflower seeds, which have a lot of omega-6, but no omega-3 in them. So the balance between omega-3 and 6 is really important. 4-to-1 is too high in omega-3. So then I decided to create a blend. And in the blend, the ratio is 2-to-1. Still richer in omega-3s because they're the high energy ones. They're the ones that the athletes do really well on if they're not damaged, if the oil is not damaged. And they're the ones that are missing in 99% of the population. We put omega-6s in it because you don't want to become omega-6 deficient, but also because most people get their omega-6s damaged with that 1% damage, with those 60 quintillion damaged molecules in a tablespoon. And I tell people you need to get off of those oils. And it's not the omega-6 that's the problem. It's the damage done by the processing by industry and during food preparation that you need to get out of. So we put in omega-6s, also made with health in mind, to balance the ratio properly, made with health in mind, not damaged, from organically grown seeds, no pesticides, in glass, no plastic leaching into the oil. And that's like the the one product that people would say, is there one thing I can do that gets me all the good stuff and none of the bad stuff from oils? That's where we send them. And that's what we made it for. So that's called Udo's Choice. And it's has 9 ingredients in it. Fundamentally, I've traveled to more than 40 countries now talking about oils. So here we are again talking about oils.
Yes. So you actually use more omega-3 than you do omega-6 in the Udo's Choice oil. Interesting.
Yes. And fundamentally, let me just say one more thing about it. Omega-3 is 5 times more sensitive to damage than omega-6. So it's a nightmare to work with. So you have to have a really tight system to be able to do it well. But the fact that it's 5 times more sensitive is that it's also very highly reactive in your body, and some people call it the God molecule because God is energy. This is the highest energy molecule among all the essential nutrients. And people, we've done studies with athletes, 40 to 60% increase in their performance within 30 days if they took a tablespoon per 50 pounds of body weight per day of Udo's oil mixed in food and intake spread out over the course of the day. 40 to 60% increase in performance if they did their sport to exhaustion. So we had them do their sport to exhaustion before they started, and then 30 days after. 40 to 60%. There is no training program that gets you 40 to 60% in a month. And that's just simply because they're such unbelievably good fuel. But the other thing about omega-3s that hardly anybody knows, and it only occurred to me a couple months ago, is that the body turns omega-6s into fuel. So to build your fire, I call it the fire of life, your energy, your vitality, your juice that gets you your performance. But the stronger the fire is, the more sparks it throws. And the sparks we call free radicals. And the sparks do random damage in your tissues. So with your fuel, you need spark control. So omega-3s are the only molecule. 80% is fuel and the other 20% is converted into other molecules, including very powerful anti-inflammatory and antioxidant molecules. There is no other molecule in nature that I know of that does both jobs, both builds the fire and protects you from the sparks. And that in itself makes omega-3 absolutely miraculous in terms of their application. Okay,
so a lot of people, Udo, when they hear omega-3, I'm sure they're going to think of fish oils.
Yeah.
Right? They're going to think of DHA and EPA. They're gonna think of these things.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so, and if you're pretty well read on nutrition, you know that about 5% of your omega-3s, your body will convert into those actual really high quality EPA and DHA, right? And so that's why that's kind of the sell on fish oils. Okay.
Yeah, but
So,
okay,
but I know you have another science. I'm helping everybody kind of along, so then you can fill in the gaps
perfect
there, right? So most individuals are going to be coming from that standpoint. So help us understand, like, you do not use fish oils, and I know you have a big reason. So why not help us learn that, and why does it matter?
Okay, so when we came out with flax oil in 1987, we actually made it in 86, and we started taking it out to the world in 1987. That week, one of the fish oil producers started to say the body cannot convert alpha-linolenic acid, which is the plant-based omega-3 from flax, into EPA and DHA, which you find in fish oil. But when they said that, there were already a whole bunch of studies that showed that the body does convert. But they had all kinds of different numbers, anywhere from almost nothing to 21% conversion on different studies. So the question is, well, why so different? Because conversion takes place in a context. So for instance, if you have a lot of sugar or carbs or saturated fats or monounsaturated fats or omega-6s in your diet, those are going to slow down the conversion of omega-3. If you don't have enough zinc, enough magnesium, vitamin C, vitamin B3, and vitamin B6, which are required for conversion, if you don't have enough of those, that slows down conversion. And in fact, people, 80% of the population doesn't get enough magnesium, 50 to 60% not enough zinc, 41% vitamin C, about a third vitamin B3, and B6 is another 80%. So I can literally make you a study and show that no conversion happens by just picking people who are eating those kind of diets that are low in those, and they wouldn't be hard to find because a lot of people are not eating well. And at the same time, I could get you a study and show you that there's 20% conversion by just picking people who are eating well and making sure that they're taking their supplements and making sure that they've optimized and making sure that they're more on a keto kind of diet than on a carb-based diet, right? So, and because it happens in a context, it's important, so the fish oil industry says, okay, so well, the body can't convert. And they even say EPA and DHA are essential. They're not. They're essential fatty acid derivatives. You can make them from ALA in your body. And we all have, in every cell, we have the genes that make the conversion. And Walter Willett, the head of Harvard School of Public Health, was asked one day, what would happen if your body couldn't convert ALA into EPA and DHA? And without any hesitation, he said, you would be dead. The body has to be able to do that conversion. Now, there's more problems with flax oil. With fish oil. Fish oils are 5 times more sensitive than alpha-linolenic acid, which is already 5 times more sensitive than linoleic acid, the omega-6. So they're super, super sensitive. So if you get fish oil in a bottle, not in capsules, but in a bottle, you put it in your fridge, you open it up, you put it in your fridge, within a week, you can smell the rancidity because they are super, super, super sensitive. Plus, they have PCBs and dioxins in them. They used to be up to 1,300 parts per billion, and PCBs and dioxins are super carcinogenic. And then the industry said, no, 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 you have to bring that down to 90 parts per billion. So in order to do that, they have to do more processing, and processing is already damaging. And now the fish oils are even more damaged than they were 20 years ago. There was a time, if you ate fish and the fish were clean and they weren't the dirtiest meat on the planet, which they are now, because the oceans are our sewers. And actually the people, the group that studies essential fatty acids, they're called ISFAL, they're the research scientists. I was a member of that group for many years. They say by 2048, there will be no fish in the ocean at the rate that we're going. So, because we're more effective at bringing them, but we're not doing anything that makes them sustainable. And basically the fleets have gone around the world from ocean to ocean, overfished, overfished, overfished. And if you want EPA and DHA in a form that isn't damaged, isn't toxic, and then I would recommend that you get krill oil. Krill oil comes from Antarctica. They're low on the food chain. The higher you go on the food chain, the dirtier the stuff is. They're low on the food chain. They're partially triglycerides, but they're partially phospholipids, which are absorbed and conserved better. And the way that's made is it's alcohol extracted. It's not damaged the way fish oils and cooking oils are damaged. So I would say, and by the way, the supplement will not fix with what is wrong with your food oil foundation. You know, you have to look at food oil foundation is one thing, and supplement is another. Supplement is 1 to 3 grams. For krill, it's actually 1 to 2 grams because it's more effective and it's in better shape. And for the foundation, 2 to 4 tablespoons is most people's intake, which is 28 to 56 capsules. So fish oil cannot fix with what's wrong with the foundation. You have to fix the foundation. And you may get further benefit by adding a supplement to that foundation. And you can experiment with that and see what your body tells you. So of the two, the foundation is more important just because there's so much of it. And so I have a some all none statement, all some none statement. It goes like this. If you want to be healthy, you have to get your food oil foundation made with health in mind. And that means it's not damaged, it's organic, it's not in plastic. You don't treat it with sodium hydroxide, phosphoric acid, bleach it and heat it to frying temperature in deodorization. And, and you don't fry it. So you need a food oil foundation. Everybody needs a food oil foundation made with health in mind if they want to be healthy. Some people will benefit if they add a supplement to that foundation. Krill oil is the best in terms of its functionality. And no one can be healthy on supplement alone. That's my sum all none statement. You have to look at both of these, and you have to make sure you get them both made with health in mind. So I think where else do you want to go?
Well, let's do this. It's always really beneficial when we go to Q&A, so questions and answers. So for our VIPs, so our VIPs are very important people who are our special people, the fitness doctor. You, of course, get first dibs on questions. So if you have questions, you know how to do this as a VIP. Go to reactions, click the button, click raise hand. And then also, of course, all of our audience members, you can absolutely, I welcome you to participate with us. But VIPs, if you have questions, please raise your hand and we'll call on you first. And then all of our audience members absolutely would love to answer your questions, connect with Udo here. So get your questions ready and raise your hands. And just in case you weren't clear on that, how would you raise your hand in Zoom? You go across the toolbar. So you'll see like microphone and like a picture of a camcorder. You can see participants. And if you keep going over, you'll see like a smiley face with the plus sign in the head. It says reactions. If you click that, a box will open and then you can click raise hand from there. With that being said, hello, I'm going to go to Lori. I'm going to give you, there you go. Perfect. Awesome. Hi, Lori. I'm going to bring you up on the Zoom stage with us here. Just one second. Hello, good to see you.
Oh, good to see you too.
Hi, Lori. Was
hey
your
there.
question about allergy to krill?
That's my question.
Okay, so, well, first of all, you may not need it. And I'm
Okay.
part of the reason why I don't use supplement oils, omega-3, omega-6 supplements, either fish or krill, is because there is some research that if you're on the usual North American diet, after 50, your brain starts to shrink, and there's some claim, and there's a lot of cheating goes on in the oil industry. I know the players, and I know where they cheat, and because I know the field pretty well. So they say that if you take fish oil, then that you can keep your brain from shrinking. I don't think that's true. I think that's only true because you're on an insufficient diet, and that gets worse with time. So I'm out to prove that brain. I mean, I don't. Maybe my brain is shrinking, but it's still working, and it's still working pretty well, right? There you can get algae oils, but those are also processed, and it's hard to get them. We used to get an algae oil unprocessed. We were the only people in the world who talked the company into making it for us. And that the company that got sold, and then it got sold again, that got sold again, and now the company wants to stop making it because we're too small for them. So we either have to find another source. So the first thing I would do is, by the way, the other issue, if you have a shellfish allergy, the allergy is to protein. The protein ain't in the oil.
Ah.
So it depends on severe it is, because you have to have a certain amount of protein that you're allergic to have a reaction. If you're below that amount, then you don't get the reaction.
Interesting.
So if it's not an anaphylactic shock reaction, then you can play with it and see. You're likely not to have
Okay.
a response to the oil.
Thank you. And may I ask a second question, if I could? I apologize, I tuned in late, but part of the reason I'm here today is my husband has the dry eyes. He's got the tendonitis in the finger swelling, and that was really why I was tuning in. And I know if you could just summarize for me what you did to turn that around.
Well, lucky. Oh, okay. Yeah, lucky. Okay, I didn't really talk about it, but oil, if your skin is dry, and in winter, that's more obvious than in summer, and in dry climates, that's more obvious than in humid climates. But if your skin is dry, you need more oil, because the oils, the essential fatty acids, are given to your inner organs as priority by nature, because if they dried out, you'd be dead. But you can live with dry skin. So your skin gets oiled by both essential fatty acids, forming a barrier in it against the loss of moisture. And you end up with soft, velvety skin, but only if you optimize your intake. That's how you know optimum. My skin is soft and velvety. That's how I know I've got optimum. In winter, I use about 4 tablespoons. In summer, I use 2 or 3. And because in winter, you burn more for energy. Okay. So that's the background of that. If you have dry eyes, we've consistently seen it works really well. You got to have both omega-3 and omega-6, and you don't put them on your eyes. You just eat enough, because 99% of the population doesn't get enough omega-3s. If you don't have enough omega-3s, you don't get that barrier in the skin, so you lose moisture. What that means, if you take optimum intake of omega-3 and omega-6, you don't need to drink as much water, because you don't lose as much water, right?
Good.
Good. Okay, you're already unmuted.
Thank you, Lori. Lori, did you
Okay.
have any other questions? Yeah. Just give me a thumbs up if you're good. Sorry, you got mute. Okay, awesome.
Yeah,
Lots of love to you. And hold on one second. I just got to make a little adjustment. Okay. Mark, hello, sir. So awesome to see you. Wonderful. Another VIP. Good to see you, my friend.
Hi, Mark.
Thank you. Good to be here. Hello, Udo. And thank you for all this information. You just mentioned optimum intake.
Yeah.
And what I've done with my food intake over the years is I've tried to get optimum nutrients through eating whole foods,
Yep.
foods that are not processed, foods that have not been broken down in any way. So I'm curious about the oil though, because you are extracting oil. And I eat sunflower seeds and I eat nuts to try to get my omega-6s. And so I
Yeah.
try to do it out of food. I'm wondering what it is that you see that extracting the oil is more optimum than, say, eating those foods that produce those oils.
Of course, I
Naturally.
didn't. Of course, I did not say that.
No.
No. So, and but this is a question. I've been doing this for 40 years. So you can imagine there are people out there that say no oils ever, no oils, never, never, and ever any oils. There's quite a few people saying that. And sometimes that's useful if you're on a sad diet and your body's completely wrecked, that you go on a diet like that. You got the wrong oils and you got to get them out. And anyway, so somebody asked me that question about 30 years ago. It's the same question you asked. And so it brought up a question for me because they implied, you didn't say that, but they implied that, or I guess it's implied in your question. They implied that nature's mandate is optimum health. So if you eat in line with nature, fresh, whole, raw, organic foods, you're going to have the optimum health. And I questioned that because here's how it looks to me. Nature wants you healthy enough to grow up, healthy enough to have kids, healthy enough to take care of the kids till the kids are grown up and don't need you anymore. And then nature doesn't need you anymore either. And the best way to recycle you before you're 90 is to make sure that you are in suboptimal health, because then as you get older and your machinery runs down slower, you get recycled earlier. Okay? So that's the thought. But now where's the proof? So I was in California in summer, and I decided to see what would happen if I got all my oils just from seeds. And what I did is I took 5 tablespoons of flax, which absorbs 6 times its weight in water. So that's 30 tablespoons. That's like a meal almost. And flax for omega-3s, because it's the only good source of omega-3s that's easily available. Okay? So 5 tablespoons of flax, and then 3 tablespoons of sunflower and sesame. So I had my 2-to-1 ratio in what I was taking. And so that was 33 tablespoons. I couldn't eat more than that. And even in summer, when I need less oil, I could not keep my skin from getting dry. Okay? So what I say to people, and I'll say that to you, absolutely what you're doing is a good idea. Fresh, whole, raw, organic, it's a whole lot better than what industry provides you. Okay? No question in my mind. But if your skin is dry, then crank it up with oil. And you look like your skin might be a little dry.
It does. It gets a little dry. It does.
Okay, so don't stop doing what you're doing. And then oil goes in food. Well, we say a tablespoon per 50 pounds of body weight per day, but you can figure out how much that is, because it might be more for some, it might be less for some, but your skin will tell you. When your skin is soft and velvety and you don't need to put gunk on it, then you know that you've optimized your intake of the oils. And you mix them in food, spread them out over the course of the day, take them with lots of herbs and spices, because they're really good for health too. So that's what I do. What I do is I get tahini. You know what tahini is? I dump the
tahini.
Yeah, I dump the sesame oil. It's organic tahini in glass. I dump the sesame oil because it's got only omega-3s. I dump in my oil because it's a better oil. And then I mix in all kinds of herbs and spices, clove and cinnamon and ginger and turmeric and black seed, and then I mix it in, and then I dip my raw broccoli in it or my raw vegetables in it, and that's how I eat. Is it good? Unbelievable. It's so good. And my skin is really nice. It's summer, but it's nice in winter as well.
Do you put those in there? Do you add those in there just for taste and preference, or are they actually having some kind of an added benefit as well?
Well, no, the most important spices in the world: ginger, turmeric, same family; black seed, which comes from the Middle East; cloves, amla, ashwagandha. Some of those have antiviral, antifungal, antibacterial, anti-cancer, anti-cardio, anti-diabetes, antioxidant, and anti-inflammatory benefits. Why would you not want to take those? Right? Because they give you even better spark control.
Can you, Udo, can you share that list one more time? The same exact list you just said. Would you say it one more time?
Yeah, I didn't give you the whole list, but because I play with stuff all the time. But ginger, turmeric, cinnamon, black seed, clove, amla, ashwagandha, curry is turmeric and some other spices. I use bacopa and cayenne. I didn't say that. So there's a whole list, and they're unbelievably good spices, and we should all be taking them from the perspective of spark control. And they have so many benefits, and they work better than drugs, and they don't have side effects. I mean, some of them can have side effects. You can overdose on certain spices, but they're nature's spark control, right? Aside from the fact that the omega-3s also create their own spark control, right?
Thank you.
Okay.
Lots of love to you, Mark. Good to see you, my friend.
Great question.
Yeah. And then Patricia. Patricia's a VIP also. Very VIP.
She'd better be. She'd better be. And not just in your club, in your life too.
So Patricia, while we have you here, and Udo, of course, let's drop the link for Udo's oils. So let's make sure everyone has the link for Udo's oils.
Okay, you find them in a brown glass bottle, in a box, in the fridge, in the supplement section, in the health food stores. But there's more information about the oils on udoschoice.com, udoschoice.com.
And
you already did that.
Yeah. She makes it happen.
Ready for my question?
Yeah.
I have a whole bunch of questions for you, but I'm not going to do this, but I will ask you personal questions because those are the most fun. So did you
gossip, live? Are we doing gossip now?
Yes. Did you live throughout the war in Europe? Yes.
I was born in Poland when it was part of Germany.
So you stayed throughout the whole war in Europe?
I was born in 1942, so I didn't stay the whole war. I only stayed the part that happened after I was born. The war started in 1939. Sorry?
How did we recover the two brothers?
How did
your mom find your two siblings that were left behind?
Oh, well, she made it out. She made it out alive went through the fields, and her sister found out that she had to leave us behind. So she came.
Oh, you got left behind.
Yeah. Me and one of my sisters. There were four. She had 4 kids. 2 of her kids she left behind.
And where did you go when you got left behind?
She left me with a farmer, and the farmer was supposed to take us to Berlin to a sister who lived there. But they had already fled because everybody was, because it was the end of the war and everybody was fleeing out of the East there. And so we got put in an orphanage. And then I think they wanted to put us on a train to Switzerland or something. But, I don't remember all of that stuff. But her sister came back and fetched us. She found us and then reunited us with the family.
Wow. Fascinating.
But being 2 years old and all of a sudden having no mother for a couple of weeks, that could probably count as a traumatic experience.
Slightly.
But lucky for us, we know that there's something in us that is not affected by any trauma. And I'm lucky that I found that place in myself. So I don't live in the trauma of abandonment, right?
Good for you.
Yeah.
You're awesome.
So are you. In fact, there are 8 billion awesome people on this planet,
Wow.
right?
Thank you, though. Stephanie, I'm gonna bring you in.
Hi, Stephanie.
Hello
Hi.
and welcome, Stephanie. Good to see
Follow
you.
that question, actually. That was a very touching story, but I do have a little list of nutritional questions. I'll be as quick as I can. So shelf life of flaxseed oil, once you extract flaxseed oil, how long does it actually stay viable before it becomes toxic?
It depends. Well, okay, so I have to fix your question a little bit.
Please.
It becomes rancid before it becomes toxic. And if it's 2% rancid, you can't keep it in your mouth. It'll taste disgusting. Okay, how long it lasts depends on how you made it and how you store it. So if you didn't make the tight system, then you're already going to get oxygen reacting with the oil. When we started in 1987, we put a 3-month shelf life on it, because that's as far as we were in perfecting the system. And it was never rancid in that time because the FDA wanted to shut us down, and they couldn't because they couldn't win a court case against us. So it's a long story, but if you freeze the oil, and oil shrinks when it freezes, then you have like a 3-year shelf life, because oil shrinks when it freezes. When it freezes, the molecules don't move. When molecules don't move, they don't meet. And when molecules don't meet, they can't react. So you literally can get if you froze it at minus 72 degrees, it would live forever. It would be okay forever. So you could keep it for, I mean, nobody's going to do that. I'm just saying that's how it works, right? So keep it. What I do is I buy my oil by the case. Mine is a little more stable than flax oil, but still they're perishable products, right? So I buy it by the case. I stick it in my freezer, and the bottle I'm using, I take it out of the freezer, put it in the fridge, and then I use it within 8 weeks. We tell people once it's opened, air gets in, use it within 8 weeks. Okay, if you're taking a tablespoon a day in the small bottle, there's 17 tablespoons. And the bigger one is 34 tablespoons. So that's 34 days. You're still under 8 weeks. 8 weeks is 56 days, right? I was going to say one more thing. Yeah, and then always use it in food, mix it in food, because it enhances flavors and improves the absorption of oil-soluble nutrients. That's why we like oils with foods or fats with foods.
Yeah, no, Susan D.
Shall I carry on? Second
Yeah,
question was about chia seeds. I heard that chia seeds were very high in omega-3 as well. Is that
chia
true?
chia seeds are like flax, but flax has quite a few things that chia seeds does not. There is a guy who tried to patent chia so that he could build an empire, a chia empire, and he did a study that was he falsified a study, and he got caught. So chia is not has not been patented. But yeah, it's good. And the Tarahumara Indians used to use chia seed, which grows in southwestern US. They used to use it on their races. So they were getting oil and protein and fiber and virtually no carbs. Although fiber is carbs, but carbs are not digestible carbs, right? And they used to use that as, you could do that with flax oil. If you wanted to go on an ultra marathon of 150 miles, you could use flax oil. The record that was set in America for the longest distance run in 24 hours, I think it was 152 miles, which is about 6 marathons, was set by a guy on Udo's oil.
Wow.
And he would say, he was pretty conservative. He would say he thought that the oil gave him 25% higher stamina.
So another question about flax, because it is so good for us in so many different ways. I saw an Indian tradition to boil your flax and then drink it and chew the seeds. Is that going to destroy the oils in the flax if you boil it?
Well, no, you're going to kill the enzymes. You're going to destroy the enzymes. I think they boil it because hygiene is a big issue in India,
Right. Okay.
right? So you don't, and that's why they boil, they cook everything. That's why they don't eat raw foods that much. But that's
Yeah.
that's a way to deal with dysentery and catching bugs, right?
Okay.
When you cook the oil, you will expand the mucilage will blow up with water. And the reason for drinking it is because it's really good for bowel regularity and as also really good food for probiotics.
Okay, cool. Thank
Yep.
you. And my last question is, I did put in the chat earlier about coconut cooking in coconut oil,
Yeah,
butter, and ghee, and maybe very, very gently in olive oil. What would you say about that?
I would say that's the Russian roulette question.
Okay.
Because,
That's,
people ask that question all the time because they say,
yep.
I say, okay, listen, frying is the dumbest thing we've ever invented to do to our food. More health problems come from damaged oils than any other part of nutrition. More, more health benefits will come from hitting yourself on the head with a frying pan and throwing it out, right? And so then people say, okay, well, so the thing is, you burn foods, they burn you, they burn your health, okay? Burnt foods burn your health. If you use coconut or butter to burn your food, you're still burning your health. So they're less damaged and become less toxic than the liquid oils that are rich in omega-3 and omega-6, but they're not good for health. Okay, they're the least worst, not the best, the least worst. And my job is to tell you the truth so you can make good choices. Okay,
Thank you.
so I have to tell you that, right? Yeah, and then the other thing is they have virtually no essential fatty acids in them. And essential fatty acids is the only thing you have to have from oils. Everything else your body can make. Your body can make coconut fat out of wheat, out of starch, out of sugar, right? In fact, why people get overweight, they eat too many carbs. If you eat too many carbs, insulin drives it into the cells. You burn what you can. The rest has to be turned into fat. Then you get cravings. Then you start eating more. So that's where carb addiction comes from, and that's where most of our overweight comes from. Is actually carbs or inflammation, water retention from inflammation. Okay?
Really helpful to hear that from you, Udo. Thank you
Cool.
very much.
Lots of love to you, Stephanie. Good to see you. And next, let's answer a couple questions in the chat, and then Susan D will be next, our next VIP. That's sorry, my little outburst there saying Susan D to Patricia. I didn't realize I was unmuted. So, but let's answer a couple questions in the chat here. So Udo, first one from Laura. Can you share your recipe that you just described with the tahini? Maybe that's something you could give us, and then we can send it in the show notes after the show.
I've never written it down.
Okay. Well, share it here. Go ahead. I'll let you share it here.
Literally, you get tahini, you let it sit for a while because then the protein settles to the bottom, the oil floats on top. You open up, you dump the oil because it's omega-6 oil, and we need more omega-3. And then I put my oil in. I put in quite a bit because I want to turn it into kind of like a vegetable dip. So I might put a third of a small bottle in it. And then I put in all the herbs and spices. And then I just mix it up. And then I put it back in my fridge. And then when I go to eat, I get my veggies. Broccoli is a big one for me. And I literally dip it in that and eat it. Dip it and eat it. Dip it and eat it. Carrots, cabbage leaves, kale, radishes, little cucumbers, and I dip it and eat it. So I'm getting my oils, I'm getting protein, from the tahini, plus the protein that's in the herbs and spices. I also eat seeds and nuts on top of that, and I take some supplements. But that's it. It's like you just mix it. And what does it taste like? Well, it's an acquired taste. It doesn't taste like ice cream. It tastes like the spices in it. Some of them are a little bit bitter and a little bit tart.
Right.
But it's literally is an acquired taste. I mean, if you like the taste of beer, that's an acquired taste too. If you like the taste of alcohol, that's an acquired taste too. There's a if you like meat, that's an acquired taste too.
Thank you. And then one more question. It's really good. What type of oil should we cook with? So if
there's the dumbest of the Russian roulette questions. So when people ask me that, I'm just having fun with it, right? So when somebody asks me what oil should I use for cooking, water. When I was a kid, I'm an old guy. When I was a kid, cooking meant.
So it's
cooking meant with
no
water.
Oil for cooking. So no oil for cooking. 0.
100% is stupid idea. It is the dumbest thing we've ever invented. So when I was a kid, cooking meant with water, and we call the other thing frying or deep frying. Well, now when you talk about cooking, everybody's cooking in oil.
Well, it's interesting because as a bachelor, that's exactly how I would cook. Patricia couldn't stand it. I would just take like my chicken breasts and stuff and just boil it. Because for me, I need to get in all my nutrients, and I don't care what it tastes like. I'm pretty extreme like that.
Yeah.
So like cooking, like I'm not a cook, I'm not a chef, but I know all the nutrients I want, and it wouldn't matter. So I knew I needed to eat it. So I would boil everything in just like water. I wanted to cook it, and that's it. And
Robbie is not the cook in this household. Let's put it this way. Robbie is not the cook in this household.
So you have to think about it. If you think about health, nature's mandate was fresh, whole, raw, organic. When you cook in water, you already destroy the enzymes that do 60% of the digestion of the food for you if you chew it properly. You kill the probiotics on the food if there are any on it, and you damage some of the more sensitive vitamins, and you lose some of the minerals in the cooking water unless you drink the water. So you're already doing quite a bit of change to it. When you do it with frying, you get all of those problems, plus you turn molecules into unnatural, toxic, cancer-causing, inflammation-causing molecules. When you fry starches or proteins or oil, all three of them independent of each other increase inflammation and increase risk of cancer. So from that perspective, we ought to be heading from out of the frying pan into the cooking pot, and out of the cooking pot into raw as much as we can. Right?
Yeah.
This is just from a health perspective.
Are you eating raw meats?
I don't eat meat.
Okay. Oh, you know. Yeah. Oh, you're vegetarian. You're
I
vegan.
used to. I used to. I've just headed more in the direction of plant-based. Older I get, better it works for me. And the research is pretty clear. You want the longest life, the best health. It's done on a whole food, plant-based diet. You have to know how to do it properly, because you can also mess it up and do it wrong.
Yeah, but which most vegans do. A
lot of vegans do. Yeah, because they think margarine is a plant product and sugar is a plant product, right? Yeah, we're not talking about that. We're talking about fresh.
No. Yeah, being a healthy vegan. Yeah, being a healthy vegan is a very difficult thing to do. That's for sure. Yeah. And Susan D, hello and welcome to you.
Hello. I'm so glad you had this, because I've been wondering about it. Really appreciate Robbie, you bringing this to us. Thank you, Udo, too. I'm really glad that you were led along this path, because we all
yeah. Thank you for all my dramas and traumas, because here we are.
Yeah. So I have a question. I had undergone heavy metals testing, and it revealed that I have off the chart lead toxicity. So would you recommend any change to what you already recommended, which was 1 tablespoon per 50 pounds of body weight. 1 tablespoon. Same thing.
No, you can do that if you take more. If you take more than your body needs, it'll basically burn the excess.
Okay.
But I don't know that there is well, they do, essential fatty acids do carry minerals. I've never seen any studies that they carry lead, but if they do, then you could take more oil and sweat. And sometimes oil-soluble toxins will end up in the oil part of your sweat. That was shown with Vietnam veterans poisoned by Agent Orange. They were literally able to measure give them extra oil, has to be a good oil because you don't want damaged oils, right? So they measured the Agent Orange in the oil part of the sweat, and they monitored its decrease in the body. And they did it. They had them in a sauna for 3 to 6 months, 15 to 30 minutes a day.
I wonder if that was for this.
So I don't know the answer of it, but whatever other oil soluble toxins, we probably all got some oil soluble toxins in our bodies. That's one way to get rid of them. They don't come out with the water, and they mostly don't come out with your pee because your pee is mostly water. Pee is I don't know if you know that, but pee is about 4% fat, but it's all emulsified. That's why it forms a ring eventually forms a ring on the inside of the toilet.
That's interesting.
Yeah. This is home economics, specialized home economics.
Unlike you've ever had it. So but I was thinking maybe the oil that you mentioned, I've already got your site pulled up, would actually help to facilitate detoxing. I am taking EDTA under a doctor's care.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know. Go ahead.
Yeah, those are specifically for minerals, EDTA, and there's a couple of other ones, DMS something or other. But
yeah, I think you're right. I think it's DMSO.
Yeah.
Something. Yeah. So oil will not, taking the extra flaxseed oil is not going to help that. Not that
I would not. I know I would sell more flax oil if I said yes, but I don't think I don't know of any studies that have been done with it. And yeah.
And secondly, do you have any recommendations for materials that we could read up on relative to oils?
On oils?
Yeah.
I think the best book on the planet for reading about oils is Fats That Heal, Fats That Kill.
Okay, thank you so much.
It's very basic. It's written to read. It's a fat book. I don't mean it. It's a fat book. Fats That Heal, Fats That Kill. Yeah, I think it's nobody's done it. People have come to me and said, I was going to write a book on fats, but then I looked at your book and I said, there's no way I could do a better book, so I don't do it. It's a lot of work. Let me just say one thing that it occurred to me. There are a lot of people say no oils, no oils, no oils, no omega-6s, no oils. And right now it's really, really noisy like that. These are all people. They've been doing it since we started, 40 years. Every year there's somebody. But the thing about all of those people is they haven't done their homework, because they blame omega-6s and they blame cooking oils for what should be blamed on the damage done to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so then they say you shouldn't use any oils. There's even a crackpot that said, if you take enough B vitamins, you don't need essential fatty acids. There are no essential fatty acids. And people quote him. I read stuff about him all the time. And he dissed my book. One of only 2 people who've ever had something bad to say about my book. It's been around for a long time. And he was completely off the wall. He said, some company hired me to write this crazy book. I was broke. I moved in with my mother. I did it because I got so excited about how many people we could help if we could make oils with health in mind. And so it was written out of that. I didn't get any help. I'm not affiliated with any industry. I do have a partner in the oil, the Udo's oil, right? But this happened in way, way later. This guy, it was 1989. He wrote all that stuff. He just made it up in his head, never talked to me, right? And there are people who quote him and they don't talk to me either. And they're basically people who never looked deeper because their head never exploded when they saw omega-6 is essential and it gives you cancer. That was the thing that made me look deeper. And nobody tends to do that. And then all the researchers read the literature done on damaged oils. And then they blame the oil instead of blaming the damage. Nobody talks about the damage, because if they talk about the damage, then their grants dry up because they get grants from the oil industry. Right? It's like
all becoming perfectly clear.
What's that?
It's all becoming perfectly clear.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's like that's how research works. That's why you have to, like, the science is so difficult in so many areas, because it's just like Google. If you go and search anything on Google, you're not going to look at the 17th page. And so the organizations or the individuals that are best at ranking the information, those are the ones that are going to educate in doctorate level programs, which is who everybody listens to. So in doctorate level programs, they use research-based education. Where did the research-based education come? It comes from money that gets earmarked for studying research in a specific way, right? This is exactly what the pharmaceutical industry does. But there's individuals like in exercise physiology and exercise science that prove heavily how amazingly effective and regenerative doing things in a certain way can be in fitness and health and nutrition. But it's like on the 17th page of Google where, you know, the trillions of dollars are in the other areas. And so that's what makes some of this stuff difficult to know about.
But just to be fair, not everybody lies, but there are more liars than is good. I'll tell you one more story. I was traveling and I got an interview with one of the major television stations. And we did an interview. It was 6 minutes. They loved the interview. They were just, oh, that's awesome. Just kind of like we're doing what we're doing here, right? Loved the interview. And they said, we're going to play it on the news tonight. So I had the evening off and I said, okay, I'm going to watch myself on the news because I usually don't see myself. And I thought maybe I'll see, maybe I got some twitch, you know, that I can, when I come aware of it, I can do it better, right? Watch the news. They didn't play it, but they played an ad for Wesson Oils. And guess what? So the guys who did it liked it. The topic was a good topic. You know, I talked about the damage done to oils. And then I went to the editor. And then I went to the editor of the editor. And they said, no, we can't play that. Wesson Oil pays us money. So they're not going to diss. You know, I mean, you know, if Pfizer sponsors your program, you may just not want to badmouth Pfizer, right? And this is true this is true. This is like people cut their supporters a lot of slack, even when they shouldn't, and they do it at the expense of truth. And that's where it starts to hurt people. Yeah. All right.
Susan, did you get an opportunity to ask all your questions? Good. Lots of love to you. Good to see you. And Nicoletta, you're up with us next. And Patricia, you said you had a question? Okay. Hello, Nicoletta. Welcome.
Hi, Robbie.
Hi.
Thank you so much for this. It's a wonderful idea. And thank you to Udo. I've been using your oil since early 2000s or before 2000. They're very good. Two short questions I have.
Yep.
Number one, this Udo's choice, the oil itself, would it be part of the Food Oil Foundation or of the supplement?
Food Oil Foundation. Although we have, it's Udo's Oil's the Food Oil Foundation, but we have one that has DHA from algae in it, so that would be foundation and supplement.
Right. So if I consume just the 50, just a spoon per 50 pounds
Yeah.
every day. That would be all the oil I need. I
Yep.
wouldn't need any extra oils. Okay.
Yep.
And second question, sometimes I order it online and I get it delivered. But the problem is when they deliver it, they don't have any kind of refrigeration system. So when the bottle gets to me, it's quite warm.
Yeah.
Is there any damage done to the oil itself? Would it have like a shorter life, or does it have the same benefits if being
So
transported?
when we started working with flax oil, which is a little more sensitive than Udo's oil, we figured out that 2 weeks in transit, it works.
Okay.
Now, when it's longer than 2 weeks in transit, like when we send it to Europe or Asia, we actually ship it refrigerated. Okay. And the issue goes like this. There's no oxygen in the bottle because it's nitrogen flushed. Okay. So you're not going to get rancidity from before you open it. Okay. There's no light gets to the bottle. That's why we put the box around it. So you're safe on those two. And heat doesn't damage the oil until you hit 320 degrees Fahrenheit, which is the low end of frying temperature.
Okay.
And it's never 320 degrees in transit.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. Was that it? Okay.
Awesome. Thank you for your questions, Nicoletta. And Udo, I realize we're going about 30 minutes over here. So
I don't care. I'm happy to stay. You can clip it or whatever. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, sir. All right. So we have 3 more questions. Those who already have their hand raised are already in the batter's box. So you're going to get up to bat here. So Karen, if you would please turn on your camera if possible. And then Mark will be next again. And then Rave will be after that. So hello and welcome to you, Karen.
Hi, Karen.
Hi, Udo. Thank you very much for this. Thank you, Robbie. My question is, have you have different recommendation for people with multiple sclerosis for their myelin sheath?
No, because we're already optimizing the oil. And we have seen good results in MS with getting the oils right, with digestive enzymes, with probiotics, and with eating greens till they come out of your ears. Okay?
Okay. Oh, that's great. Thank you
but
very much.
There are obviously other things that are important too. Zinc is important and Bs are important. And so you know, the brain is made out of food just like the rest of the body. So you want to get the food right. If it's right for your liver, is more or less right for your brain too, because it's all made out of the same stuff. Right?
Okay.
But the nerves pull in some things more. The liver pulls in other things more. The bones pull in other things more. But it's all coming from fresh, whole, raw, organic, plant-based, mostly for humans, I think, for optimum health.
Okay. So another question.
And then the other issue is toxicity. You know, there's a lot of toxicity. If I had MS, I would definitely be sweating a lot and supporting a liver detox and maybe doing some deep breathing, drinking lots of water, and then maybe even doing oil sweats, because we don't know what all the toxins are. We don't know
oil
what all
sweats?
the oil sweats. Yeah. Take more oil and sweat, and then oil soluble toxins will end up in the oil part of your sweat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So like my husband uses CBD oil, and we use coconut oil to process it. Would you recommend not using oil?
Coconut to process what?
CBD, marijuana, to make it to extract the THC or the CBD or the MOB from the marijuana plant.
Oh, from the plant. Oh, you're doing it yourself.
Yes. Yep.
Oh, cool. So there's no problem with the coconut oil. Don't fry it. It was my issue. But the other thing is coconut oil is basically essential fatty acid free, has a little bit of omega-6, no omega-3. The only thing from fats and oils that you have to have is omega-3 and omega-6. So optimize those two. And when you optimize those two, then you can do a whole bunch of other things that are not essential, but they're still good fuel. And in this case, they're a good carrier for the oil-soluble CBDs.
So you wouldn't recommend using alcohol? That would not be preferred as extraction method versus the oil extraction?
Well, I'm just responding to you. I have never extracted CBDs. I don't know whether oil or alcohol is better.
Okay.
But I think oil, because it's oil soluble, my guess is that oil is pretty good for doing that.
Okay.
Alcohol is sort of in between water and oil soluble, but you can dissolve. Alcohol is better for polar oils. I don't think CBD is a polar oil.
Okay. All right.
So there's nothing wrong with using that oil too, but I wouldn't use Udo's oil because you're going to have exposure to light and oxygen. So that's probably not so. So you're having a stable oil like that, it makes more sense.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Udo.
Cool. Thank you.
See you, Karen. Lots of love to you. Good to see you. And then I had a VIP ask a question in the chat here, Udo. So Dr. Gundry, who shares some pretty controversial, he has some amazing stuff and he has some things that I think is uber controversial. We will not get into that right now, but it's some of the stuff that I think is amazing. So I don't know, are you familiar with his extra virgin olive oil? Yeah.
No.
What do you think about the polyphenol? No.
Well, so what's the deal? He's got more polyphenols in the oil?
The question is, can you tell me anything about polyphenol-rich extra virgin olive oil supplied in dark bottle and boxed by Gundry MD, recommended to take orally daily?
Well, I have a dim view of the man. One of the things he talks about lectins, the lectin thing. See, he's very smart. He first he scares your ass off, and then he's got a solution for you. But first he has to scare your ass off, right? And I don't like that kind of marketing. He's a genius at doing it, right? Mm-hmm. So lectins are proteins with starch strings, okay? And they're hard to digest until you get the starch strings off. Well, if you take amylase or you chew them well and your amylase in your salivary glands ends up mixed up with those proteins, if you chew them well, your body will digest the starch strings off the protein, and those glycoproteins then become as easily digestible because they're not glycoproteins anymore. They're just simple proteins. They become as easily digested as any other protein. Yep. Right? But he doesn't tell you that. Right. Because he sells something. Because he sells something behind it. Yeah. So and I don't want to just pick on him. This is a tried method of. This is a tried and true method of getting people to buy stuff.
Totally. Yeah. Right? No, you and I have a very similar opinion on the matter. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, if he's selling a well-made extra virgin olive oil, it sounds like you're a fan of that. So maybe that's
they're Well, I'm a fan. Okay, so let's talk about olive oil. Olive oil is 80% monounsaturated omega-9, which is not essential. Your body can make it out of sugar and starch. 10% omega-6, which is essential, and 10% saturated, and no omega-3s. So from the perspective that if it's not damaged, that's good. Mm-hmm. But if you're looking at essential fatty acids you need, it's not a good source. So I actually don't use olive oil, not because I can't get it undamaged, but because it doesn't have much in it that I need. Right? And I don't want to use it for frying because the fried oils fry health, So, right. So, but again, yeah. I mean, so I'm not a great fan of extra virgin olive. By the way, they didn't use, traditionally was not used for frying. They cooked in water, dumped the water out, added the oil for flavor and for absorption of oil-soluble nutrients. That's how it was used traditionally in Mediterranean countries. And now, of course, they all want to, they say, oh yeah, you can fry with it, fry with it, fry with it, because they want to sell more oil. The reason why we fry so much is because the industry bamboozled our mothers or grandmothers to cook in oil, because they said, oh my God, imagine how much oil we could sell if we could get them to stop cooking in water and cook in oil instead. That's how that happened. And that's why we all think fried foods are amazing, because we got them with mother love. And I say to people, yeah, keep the mother love. It's amazing. Get rid of the bad habit, because she was bamboozled. She didn't know. Yeah. And it doesn't help you.
Hello again, Mark. Thank you for that answer, Udo. Hello again, Mark.
Hey, thank you for a second question. Very quick one. My body's ability to digest fats has been somewhat compromised because I had gallbladder surgery many years ago. Do you have any suggestions for supplements or enzymes or anything that would help?
Yeah, first I have to correct you. Your ability to digest fat has not been compromised.
Okay.
Because
that's good to know.
Because what they say that bile plays a role in emulsifying fats, and it's stored and then dumped on a big meal. But when your gallbladder goes out, you're dribbling bile, same amount, but you're dribbling it into your digestive tract on an ongoing basis. So some people find that if they nibble all day instead of eating 3 big meals, that works better.
Yes.
The second thing is that take enzymes, digestive enzymes with lipase in them. I eat raw foods and I still take enzymes because they take a load off your digestive system, which takes a load off your immune system. And we live in a time when immune system strength is a really good idea, right?
Okay.
So
great.
so that's the I think. I mean, you can take bile. You can also take bile, but you're not short of bile because your body's still making the same amount. You're just not concentrating and storing it.
Okay. Thanks so much, Udo.
You're welcome. I can't hear nobody.
Thank you, Mark. And make it a great weekend, my friend. And then one last question for the show today. One last question, and that's going to be Robbie. And if you would please correct me if I am pronouncing your name incorrectly. And welcome. Good to see you. Sorry, one sec. Let me give you a link there to unmute.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the fascinating presentation. This has just been very exciting. I have one small question just to see what you think about the introduction of MCT oils. I bought a jar of MCT or bottle a couple weeks ago, and now I'm wondering how I'm supposed to use it or if I'm supposed to use it.
Okay. So, well, first of all, MCTs are a fraction of coconut oil or palm kernel oil. They're a fraction. They're an industrial product. There are some people who...
Why are they considered healthy?
Well, I'll explain it to you.
Okay.
Because that's exactly the same tone and the same question that I had, right? Right? Why? People people who make products don't necessarily want to take a lot of care of them. So if they can make something that doesn't require refrigeration and that has a 5-year shelf life and that that's really stable, well, they like that. On the keto diet, which is focused on fats, they like to emphasize the saturated fats. So it would be butter and it would be coconut and it would be medium chain triglycerides because they're all saturated. They're very stable. They're still a source of fuel for the body because the body will burn them for energy. But they're not essential. And so that at one point, and that just happened like maybe 20 years ago, MCTs were promoted for athletes. They say, great fuel for athletes. But they're not anywhere close to as effective in turning on fat burning as the omega-3s are. And omega-3s give you more energy. So you can burn them. And they used to use them in people with liver problems, because the way they're absorbed into the body is they don't go through the lymphatic system, they go into the portal system. And so they were used instead of carbohydrates in people with liver problems. So they have an application. They could also be used with people who have infantile epilepsy. They put them on diets that were 80% of the calories came from saturated fats. Their personality changes, their metabolism changes, they become fairly lethargic, and they'll do that for 2 or 3 years, and then they put them back on a normal diet, and the epilepsy is gone. So they have some applications, but there are no essential fatty acids in them. There are no antioxidants in them. There are no anti-inflammatories in them.
So why would you use them? You wouldn't, would you?
As a fuel source. I don't use them. I actually got a sample once from a company that makes a long time ago. Got it in a bucket. It was probably about maybe 2 pounds. And I put them in my kitchen on the top of the shelves over the shelves. So it was right close to the ceiling where it gets the hottest in the house, right? I had it there opened for 5 years and nothing changed. And then I threw it out. But they're very stable. So if the shelf life is your big deal, if that's your big issue, they're perfect. Yeah. But if health is your deal, what do they say? The naturopaths say, eat things that spoil, just eat them before they do. Right? What's good for your body? Your body is perishable, right? And it has ways to deal with the perishability for a while. And what it works best on is other perishable creatures. Fresh, whole, raw, organic. Mm-hmm. Right? When you start looking for, we need a long shelf life. We don't want it to have to take care of it. They do that with bulletproof coffee. Why? Bulletproof coffee is better when you put Udo's oil on it, because you get more energy from it than when you use butter or medium chain triglycerides. Right? Because the essential fatty acids are essential for health. There's nothing in medium chain triglycerides that's essential for health. Now, can you use them? Yeah, you can use them. You're still going to get some energy out of them. So just lose them in something.
Well, I thought this was a trivial
question.
Are they in
plastic? Are they in plastic?
No, a dark glass bottle.
Okay, at least they're okay. Because if they were in plastic, I would throw them out, because you don't need plastic in your body.
No.
If they're in glass, lose them in food, whatever, but in small amounts.
Okay.
Right? You need essential fatty acids. You do not need medium chain triglycerides.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for
great questions, by the way. Yeah, great questions.
And so, Udo, in summation, we've gone through a lot of stuff. In summation, omega-3 and omega-6 fats are essential. Those are the only fats that we need, but we got to be really careful where we're getting them from. They need to be made with health in mind. They need to be in the right ratio to one another. They need to be in glass. They need to be organic. And we did all that because we wanted a substitute to the more health problems come from damaged oil than any other part of nutrition. And more health benefits come from making the oil change that the body needs to get the dirty oils out and bring clean oils in. Thank you so much for your amazing connection with our audience today. And I'm sure everybody in attendance learned a ton. And Udo, you're a unique individual. I've had a lot of enjoyment connecting and listening to you today.
Thank you. And I love, by the way, I love doing this.
Yeah. I see that. It's awesome. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. we're all honored to have you here with us. So
It's
make
my
it a
honor.
wonderful-
And you provide the amplifier for, if the message is good, the amplifier is at least as important as the message.
Yes,
Because
sir.
if I wasn't talking to you and your audience, I'd be talking to myself in the bathroom mirror. And that's boring. That's boring.
Right. Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
can tell you have a true intent. You have, that's why I have you on the show. I only have experts on the show who truly care about people and care about doing the right thing. So that's actually the most important factor. So, and I see that you clearly have that, and I've known that for a long time. So we're all honored to have you here with us.
Thank you. Yeah.
Lots of love to you, my
It's
friend.
nice. It's nice. It takes one to know one. So back to you. What you just said about me, back to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And so great to have everyone here with us. And you have the links and Udo's oils you can find in most farmers market types grocery stores, Whole Foods. You also in Sprouts. I know that's not across the whole country. Whole Foods is probably much more common, but in most farmer market type of stores, correct?
I don't know about the farmers markets, but Sprouts has it, and yeah, pretty much it's in the health food stores. You could get it off Amazon, even.
Very
But
good.
I like supporting the stores.
Yeah,
You
me
know.
too. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And Patricia will once again drop the link for you for the Full Body Fix event that begins July 22nd. If you haven't been, you absolutely want to attend or go again. And for our VIPs, make sure you share that link with someone you care about. Make it an amazing weekend. It was so great to connect with each and every one of you here today. Lots
All right.
of love.
Thank you.
And anything you'd like to say in parting? Well,
Yeah. Enjoy your life. It's a temporary gift, and it's an awesome gift.